Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor. Today I'm going to share with you 5 tips for dealing with very fast life changes. The awakening moves fast, and the closer you get to the alignment with your true path, the faster things break down and new things come in, and you just know, you have a sense and experience that life is happening faster. Changes are taking place at a remarkably faster rate than you could have ever possibly anticipated. And the reality of the situation sometimes can freak you out a little bit. So today, again, I'm going to share 5 tips straight from the trenches of going through this. I know exactly what it's like, that I really believe you'll be able to relate with if you're going through this, and I believe it's going to help you, because these were things I sort of concluded after the fact from my mistakes. And my hope of this video was to help you just not drive yourself so crazy like I did. Number 1, it's common sense, but I'm sure we could all do it better, and that is to stay out of your head. Your mind will drive you nuts. The mind is it's our own worst enemy as it is. But when you actually give it plenty of legitimate concerns and issues to ruminate about, oh yeah, it's gonna dig it. It's gonna dig its heels in and crank up its gears and start going to town with fearful, paranoid sorts of thoughts of worst case scenarios and what ifs, and God, I hope this doesn't happen. What the hell have I done? Am I crazy? Yes, I am crazy. Oh my God. And then it can become so paralyzing that you might have been in a decent mood, but you gave your mind a little room to take hold of you, and here you are laying on the floor with your hands, or your face in your hands, sobbing as you consider the insanity of what you're doing. I had those experiences many times, and I would literally get to a point where I knew that the only way to A, solve the problems I was fretting about, and B, to not freaking jump off a cliff, was to just stop the momentum of the mind. Stop feeding it. Stop giving in to the thought. I had to just go into like Zen mode. And it's hard. But what helped me is I would, when there are some situations that you do this naturally. It's not such a, you don't force it. One of them for me, I found that this would happen automatically when I was sparring. Sparring is when you practice like boxing or kickboxing or jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, when you're actually trying to like beat up the other guy with bigger gloves so you don't hurt him badly, but it still does hurt, and it still is a very scary scenario. But if you allow yourself to get in your head too much about, oh geez, this is gonna hurt, or oh man, I don't know what to do, this guy's better than me, you'll get your ass kicked. So you very quickly realize that you can't do that. You have to stay like just have no mind, just in the zone. You can't give an ounce of energy to those thoughts. And this is a situation that mentality of not giving your mind any energy to just work you all up will be highly beneficial, because you'll see the consequences of allowing your negative thinking to take hold. It will spiral you so quickly into a place of utter despair unnecessarily, because you chose this. You are on track, and when you get on track, as I mentioned, things happen fast, things break down, and it is a lot to handle. So do yourself a favor and stay out of your mind as best you can. Number 2 is get into a state of allowance. My wife was helping me with this video, and that was her tip. Get into a state of allowance. You're screwed otherwise. Similar to step 1, or number 1, where you get out of your head. It's best just to go with it. if this is happening, it means you've already made some big decisions and you already kind of know where you're going. And now it's a matter of, do you want to keep dragging your feet and driving yourself insane and freaking out all the time? Or are you going to just allow? You have to allow your life to break down for new things to come. I had to allow my gym to be given away, to just tear it down. Piece of equipment by piece of equipment, I rolled it out of there. I sold everything. I had to tell the clients we're quitting, we're done here. And that was one of many big things I had to kind of let go of. We had to let go of our home. We sold our home not even a year ago. And that's a very legit, that's a big thing, to pack up all your belongings at a place you once stayed and have many fond memories, and just watch it become an empty vessel with nothing, just devoid of any of the meaning that you imbued it with. And all of a sudden it's just a shell, and then it's gone. We don't see our house anymore, obviously. And those are just examples, metaphors for the breaking down process, quitting a job. You might be stressed out at your job, but at the same time, it might not all be bad. You might have some coworkers you like hanging out with. You might have made a lot of good friends, put in a lot of time. And even though it's the right decision, it still hurts, and it's still like a lot to actually, the process of slowly putting in your 2 weeks, saying your goodbyes. It's all a big, heavy thing. But you're doing all that for a reason. And it can be helpful to remind yourself that and allow the breakdown to happen. If something's breaking down, if you're doing something that's just not working, and you say to yourself from time to time, I know I got to leave this behind, then leave it behind. Be more apt and more quick to just let go and then allow. We say we want something to the universe, and then it says, okay, let's do it, and it makes it all happen. But then we resist it. We resist and we cling, and it's the resistance and the clinging that causes all the stress. There is an ideal scenario, and that is to allow this manifestation to go very smoothly and effortlessly, and it can. We just have a habitual pattern of our mind to try to control everything, even though it doesn't really have the capability of doing that. So do your best to allow the breakdown, and just trust. Just tap into your trust that something else better will replace it, and it will. Number 3 is to go with it. I know that sounds very similar to number 2, but I mean that in a more specific way, is that action will alleviate your anxiety. I've talked about this before, but there were times when, let me try to think of a different example actually. I remember the first time I realized, for those of you who don't know, part of my big story is I once had a pretty established life back in Michigan, where I'm now actually visiting currently. And I felt guided, divinely inspired to let it all go, quit my businesses, sell my house, and move out to California. And I remember the first day when I really knew that was to come. I remember I was sitting in the hospital with my wife after we just had our 3rd child, and I went home to sleep because by then she didn't need me to stay there. I had the other 2 kids I was taking care of, so I took them back to the house. And I had a dream that night, and that dream was of a spirit guide that came to me. And I asked his name. He said his name is Island. Take that for what you will. Anyway, he said, listen, you got to let this grow situation go. At that time, I was sort of ignoring the fact that I knew on some level that my grow operation needed to go. And he basically came in there and straight up said, you got to let this shit go, and you got to do it now. You're stronger than you think. You're more than this. This is not you. This is not what you came here to do, and you're out of time. You've held on too long. And I promise you, it's not going to go smoothly if you keep clinging. That was like the gist of the message. And anyway, so I woke up and I knew that it has begun. It was time. There was no more dilly-dallying like I was. I remember going to the hospital and reading, I was currently reading the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, and just about like setting your goals and letting go and allowing. And I remember just how scary it was, and how I basically broke all these suggestions. I was in my head. I was freaking out. I was not allowing. I was resisting. But from that point forward, at times, I realized that when I would take action, when I would say, okay, you know what? I'm going to trust this Mr. Island spirit guide character, and I'm going to trust this intuition inside of me, and I'm going to see where this takes me. So I would find that when I would go and actually start breaking down my grow operations, like there's things you could do. There are many little things you could do if you're a grower, you know this, that basically indicate that you're not going to be doing it. For me, it was killing my clones. That was my big first step. Clones are the little plants that you cut off of other bigger plants, and it's like your future cycle, it's your future crop. And by me just unplugging my little clone machine and letting those things die, that was like saying you're done, because it would have been no time to really catch back up. So even a day later, I knew that they would be actually dead, and there'd be no turning back. And even though after I would do that, I would freak out in all the ways I explained, but when I was doing that, when I unplugged it and went upstairs, I felt high. I felt exhilarated. I was like, this is it. I felt a wave of faith wash over me to say yes, yes, yes. The way I was able to experience that wave was by stepping into alignment with this path that's doing its damnedest to just open up for me. You get all the signs, the dreams, the intuition, the negative feedback, and you know what you got to do. And now it's like, you're paralyzed because it's scary. But once you take action, all those nerves, at least for a while you're taking action, go away. And I quickly realized this and made it my job to go with it in a very big and bold way. It wasn't long after that we bought an RV. 2 weeks after our first RV trip, we decided to sell our house. 3 days later, it was on the market. A day later, it was freaking sold. It was like, and if I was to allow myself to freak out, I would. I'd be able to freak myself out in a matter of seconds. But I found that going with it, doing action in that direction of my dreams, I felt good. Even though on paper it was insane, I felt good during. Number 4 is you probably already got this. It's very confusing when this is all happening. And as you just keep living and going day to day, moving forward, you'll get little glimpses of new information, new insight to where this might be leading, to how it might be playing out. But my advice is to not constantly try to stop and then make sense of it. There's the temptation. And I'll give you an example. When I was trying to come up with, later on my journey, when I was decided to okay, I'm going to actually get online and have a YouTube channel and a blog and an online business. So what is it? Well, what am I going to call myself? I didn't know what to call myself because I didn't really know what exactly I was going to do. I had all these different ideas, all these different interests, and they were so unrelated. So I thought that it really drove me crazy. But as I would just ponder this and contemplate this and start writing some blog posts and shooting videos, I would be given little glimpses of clarity, little glimpses of clarity. The best way I could put it, a little puzzle piece would float into my life saying, but it wouldn't be enough to really form anything with. And I would stop myself. I would take the little puzzle piece, I would run home, I'd analyze it over a microscope, I would dissect it and cut it up and mess with it, and the whole time I would just stopped the process dead in its tracks by trying to make conclusions prematurely instead of letting the puzzle just piece itself together and letting the story unfold. So let the story unfold. Your mind will jump in any second it thinks it can, and just it'll cause you to repeat all those things I already talked about. Number 5, and this is something that you could probably do right now and probably lift your mood instantly when you realize this. But even though most of us are deep in a big transition right now, and there's maybe not nearly as much clarity as you would prefer, lots of things you could fret and stress and ruminate about. But even now, you can probably already see that you're handling this better than your older self would. Notice the changes you've already made. A lot of times I think we go through crazy shit just so we can reveal to ourselves our power. And like, wow, I would have never wanted this. I don't ever want this again, but you know what? Now that I'm in it and I like realize I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I'm still alive, and, you know, I'm not even that stressed out, quite frankly. It's not as big of a deal as I thought it was. Those moments of realization of how powerful you are and how capable you are of handling things that might have frightened you are priceless. Those moments, those realizations will stick with you and they will lead to others. And before you know it, you are just so freaking different, so much transformed already. And even though your reality maybe not be where you might not be living in some big house on the mountain with a cool breeze in your hair with not a care in the world. No, we're all, most of us, pretty far away from that. But you know what? You might be in the trenches and realizing that you are doing quite well. You're handling it. You're doing fine. And that is a good thing. That is very exciting. Because later in life, as things start to come together and you have smaller problems, they will really not affect you that much. You will realize how impervious you are to life challenges. You'll realize that you're not resisting as much. You're allowing more. You're not in your head as much. You're living from your heart more. You're following your destiny more blindly, with more faith, more optimism, and more hope. And as you do this, life will just only move faster. You'll change faster, but you'll be able to hang with the change. You'll be able to roll with it, really, truly. It might shake you up for a while, but eventually you'll start to see things breaking down as, oh, good, this is breaking down. What can I learn from this? And what awesome thing is going to come take its place very shortly? You will have that immediate mental, emotional reaction in time. And then by that time, you'll realize that you are one heck of a manifester, that you've learned to utilize these energies to improve yourself and your life very, very quickly. And the faster you go, the faster you'll be able to go with less and less and less stress. Anyways, I'm kind of beating the dead horse here. You guys kind of got the point. This video is for those of you who are going through struggles right now, who are going through fast life changes and feel overwhelmed. Just hopefully what I talked about will help you. You're not alone. A lot of people are going through this, and these things I mentioned will help you big time. I promise you. Just give them a try. Speak to you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Namaste.